from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello there, good evening and a warm welcome to the National News broadcast. Joining you live from the National News Studio, I am Lakshita Idirisinghe.
And I'm Kasani Balachandra. Here are your top stories for tonight.
Former Minister Rajitha says he's ready to join a national government. Golf is green, only allocated for religious activities, ban on musical shows and political meetings. Parliamentary debate on IMF agreement on the 25th of April. National fuel pass quota will remain unchanged for the following week. National semi-luxury bus services will end from May. CID prepares to inquire former Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira over the Easter Sunday attack case. Sri Lanka secures its biggest test win in history. Clashes between government forces and rebel groups in Sudan intensify.
And we move on to those and other stories in detail. And in your top local story tonight, Samagi Janabalabedia parliamentarian Rajitha Senaratne says he's ready to join a national government if the government is presented the relevant proposal for a unity government.
He made these remarks during a media briefing held in Colombo today. The parliamentarian said that the current president has made progressive steps ahead from the prevailing crisis. He said that the country managed to emerge from the bankruptcy with the assurances received from the IMF. He said that amidst the ability to engage in financial dealings with the rest of the world, the president emphasizes that all should come together to rebuild the nation. Therefore, he said that all should reach a certain consensus in this regard and be a part of a national government. He said that in 2007, when he pointed out the need for a national government, the UNP objected this proposal. He said that later on they managed to form a unity government and safeguard the country. He pointed out that the necessity is not to engage in party politics, but to engage in people's politics.
The Cabinet of Ministers has decided to allocate golf face green for religious activities effective from the 20th of April. Accordingly, the relevant decision will prevent granting permission to use the golf face green for musical shows, political rallies or any other activities which could harm the environment. Sri Lanka Ports Authority has taken over the responsibility to develop Golf Face Green as a social responsibility project, and the authority has spent close to 220 million rupees for the development activities thus far. The authority has spent 6.4 million rupees to cover the damages caused during the Aragalaya period. The Golf Face Green premises should be maintained in a manner allowing public to spend their leisure time freely. The Golf Face Green continues to sustain damages due to musical shows and large-scale public events. The government expects to implement the proposed scheme of payment of welfare benefits under the provisions of the Welfare Benefits Act No. 24 of 2002. Accordingly, 206 billion rupees is expected to be allocated for the program. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval for the proposal presented by President Ranil Wickremesinghe to implement the relevant program. The auspicious time to plant trees falls on the 20th of April at 6:38 a.m. for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Accordingly, the Ministry of Agriculture has taken steps to initiate a tree planting program based on the relevant auspicious time. The program is titled Nakatata Palayak Ratata Husmadina Nakata. Is expected to bring together all families in the countries to plant a year-round crop on the auspicious time. The relevant proposal was presented to the Cabinet of Ministers by Minister Mahinda Amaravira.
In the meantime, the Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval for a proposal made by the President to obtain approval of Parliament for the extended fund facility of the International Monetary Fund. Cabinet spokesman Minister Bandula Gunawardena, speaking at a media briefing held today to announce the cabinet decisions, said that a vote will be conducted at the Parliament regarding the IMF program. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the board of the International Monetary Fund approved an extended fund facility of $2.9 billion for a period of 48 months on the 22nd of March. The President tabled all relevant documents, including the reached IMF agreement, in the Parliament. Accordingly, he said that the Cabinet approval was granted to obtain the parliamentary approval for the IMF extended fund facility following a debate on the 25th of April. He said that this is the first time to conduct a debate over an IMF agreement in the Parliament and sought the approval from both the ruling party and the opposition.
Minister Susil Premajantha says that intelligence agencies have reported regarding the process which is underway to lure the youth's mindset towards a political ideology by exempting from the scrutinization of GCE advanced level answer scripts through a trade union action. The minister requested the relevant parties to take part in the evaluation process, considering the future of children. Minister Susil Premajantha said that as per the intelligence reports, these groups are utilizing the frustrations of the youth from the 18th to 20th years of ages in order to promote their political ideologies. Therefore, he requested the Federation of University Teachers Association to engage in the evaluation process, considering the future of children. He said that the Ministry of Education has extended the maximum support for the relevant parties, including the teachers and university lecturers associations at present. The Power and Energy Ministry has decided to continue with the increased national fuel pass quota, which was extended for the New Year season until next week.
A ministry spokesperson said that the continuation of the increased fuel quotas will be decided next week. The ministry spokesperson said that a decision over the fuel quota will be reached after analyzing the figures of fuel consumption this week and the fuel consumption during the New Year week. Fuel quotas were revised by the Ministry of Power and Energy on April 4th pertaining to the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Accordingly, the quota for special three-wheelers was increased from 10 litres to 15 litres and the quota for general three-wheelers was increased from 5 litres to 8 litres. Steps were taken to increase the quota for motorcycles from 4 litres to 7 litres and cars from 20 litres to 30 litres. In the meantime, the quota for buses increased from 40 litres to 60 litres, land vehicles from 15 litres to 25 litres and lorries from 50 litres to 75 litres. Furthermore, the quota for special purpose vehicles was increased from 20 litres to 30 litres and vans from 20 litres to 30 litres. In the meantime, the National Transport Commission says the semi-luxury bus services will be removed from operation after May.
Chairman of the Commission, Nilan Miranda, said that the relevant decision was reached after considering a large number of complaints received for a long period of time with regard to the service and the instructions directed by the Ministry of Transport. The National Transport Commission said that among 450 semi-luxury buses in operation at present, 20 buses have agreed to operate under the normal service. The Commission has pointed out that the owners of the semi-luxury buses have the opportunity to either convert the semi-luxury bus service into a normal service or a luxury bus service. The Commission has said that the bus owners will not be charged for the transformation of the service. According to the Commission, all bus owners have been informed to make the necessary transformation before the 31st of May. Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa says if the Supreme Court presents recommendations to correct certain provisions of the proposed Anti-Terrorism Act, the government will agree with the relevant recommendations.
He made these remarks during a media briefing held at the Government Information Department today. The minister said that an unnecessary fear has been inflicted within the society that the proposed act may lead to the suppression of protesters, activists, media and trade unions. He said that when a committee was appointed in 2015 to draft the relevant act, no one was debating over a possible argale in the country. He said that the objective of the new draft bill is to remove the relevant provisions in the existing act, which could be utilized to inflict harm on such entities. He said that some have not come forward to debate over the rights of the people who have been severely affected by terrorism. He added that even the media is silent over this issue. The minister also made remarks over the investigations of the Easter Sunday attack. Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa said that 42 indictments have been filed against 79 suspects. He said that in addition, the Supreme Court delivered a verdict against the former president and the former IGP and ordered them to make a certain compensation as well. He pointed out that a complexity has emerged after former Attorney General President's Counsel Dappola de Oliveira made a statement over a potential transpiring conspiracy. He said that they are faced with the issue as into why the former Attorney General failed to act on the said conspiracy during his tenure. Accordingly, he said that the present Attorney General was instructed to make necessary directives to the IGP as per the law regarding the issue and record a statement from the former IGP in this regard. President of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, says she has huge confidence that the United States will not allow defaulting on its own debt.
The United States government is in a partisan standoff for negotiations to resolve the debt crisis.
According to foreign reports, if the US Congress fails to address the debt ceiling, the country could potentially face its first ever default.
The former International Monetary Fund Managing Director remained optimistic about the recovery of the global economy despite the US Federal Reserve indicating a mild recession later this year.
The European Central Bank president expressed these views during an interview on CBS's Face the Nation recently.
You have a long list of things ahead of you, and I want to ask you about the global recovery. You were speaking a few days ago, and you said the recovery for the economy is fragile and uncertain. In this country, the Fed thinks we'll see a mild recession later this year. What is it that you predict?
First of all, there is recovery. That's, I think, a point that was not really firm only 6 months ago, where we all assumed that there would be a recession, if only a technical one. If you look at all the forecasts at the moment, it's all positive. It's been slightly downgraded. You know, the IMF went from 2.9 to 2.8, so it's a 0.1 revision downward, but it's positive. From a European point of view, we have also upgraded our numbers for 2023 at 1% and then 1.6 for the 2 next years.
In terms of growth?
In terms of growth. So we have growth. There might be here or there in my 20 member states a country that has a technical recession, which means 2 quarters negative in a row. But overall, we have a recovery, and we are faced with high uncertainty because of multiple factors. You know, from our corners of the world, it's the war in Ukraine, it's the financial stability that clearly has been shaken up a bit by the US and Switzerland development. It's inflation that we are fighting. It's all that which really create a halo of uncertainty around a recovery that we want to embed.
I want to ask you about the U.S., and it's not a political question, it's an economic one. But there are predictions that the U.S. could default in its national debt as soon as June, some say September. And we have a political standoff in this country, virtually no negotiation happening on how to resolve this. Does that undermine your confidence in the United States, and what message does that send to the world?
I have huge confidence in the United States. You know, ever since my year in this country, in this city, in 73, 74, I have had confidence in this country. And I just cannot believe that they would let such a major disaster happen of the United States defaulting on its debt. This is not possible. I cannot believe that it would happen. But if it did happen, it would have very, very negative impact, not just for this country, where confidence would be challenged, but around the world. Let's face it. This is the largest economy. It's a major leader in economic growth around the world. It cannot let that happen. I understand the politics. I've been in politics myself. But there is a time when the higher interest of a nation has to prevail. I'm sorry.
And you think that will happen?
I have huge trust in this country, yet again.
Minister Manusha Nanayakara says even though the ministry has been able to secure employment opportunities in several countries, it has been difficult to find workers with necessary skills to meet the job demands. He made these remarks on the occasion of signing a memorandum of understanding between the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment and the Vocational Training Authority this morning. In accordance with this memorandum of understanding, the Sri Lanka Vocational Training Authority will train professionals with the necessary skills for foreign employment. The agency will provide them with the national vocational qualifications and provide other professional certificates according to the guidelines provided by the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment. Priority will be given to workers who have received training from the Vocational Training Authority when providing foreign employment opportunities in the future. That's all the local stories. Stay tuned with us for more news coming your way after this short break.
Creama Kottumi hot and spicy nava wasarak veva. Creama Kottumi hot and spicy nava wasarak veva.
Welcome back, and in more local stories, today is the 18th day of the Sundara Nuwareliya Salalihini Vasanta 2023.
The national television is the media sponsor for the Nuwareliya Salalihini Vasanta.
Sri Lanka Insurance සමගින් සුන්දර නුවරඑළිය සැලලිහිණි වසන්තය 2023.
The Sundara Nuwareliya Salalihini Vasanta 2023 ceremony will commence tomorrow. The national television has made necessary arrangements for the telecast of the ceremony. Students representing schools in the Nuwareliya area are also preparing for the ceremony tomorrow. The live telecast of Sundara Nuwareliya Salalihini Vasanta 2023 will be brought to you from 9 a.m. onwards.
The national Iftar celebrations were held at the temple trees this evening with the participation of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena welcomed the President upon arrival to the temple trees. Sheikh Abdullah Mohideen Maulavi conducted Islamic religious rites in both Tamil and English. Muhammad Nufrat Maulavi conducted the religious observances in Singada. Subsequently, the Iftar ceremony commenced at 6:19 p.m. Public representatives and foreign envoys were present at this occasion. Residents in Giritale claim that the Chandanapokuna tank has been filled with aquatic plants and silt.
Accordingly, reports have indicated that around 40 farmer families have faced with great difficulties as they are unable to engage in their cultivation in both the Yala and Maha seasons. The main income-earning channel for residents in Polonnaruwa district is farming. Chandanapokuna tank, which is considered as the final tank of the Giritale project, supplies water to around 100 acres of paddy fields during Yala and Maha seasons. However, the 10-acre water tank is now unable to provide adequate water supply for the cultivations. Stay tuned with us. News from overseas on the other side of this break.
Creama Kottumi hot and spicy nava wasarak veva.
Taking a look at your foreign news tonight, fighting between the army and paramilitaries in Sudan has killed around 200 people and wounded 1,800, damaging hospitals and hampering aid yesterday after 3 days of urban warfare. A weeks-long power struggle exploded into deadly violence between the forces of two generals who seized power in a coup in 2021. Sudan's army chief and his deputy, who commands the paramilitary rapid support forces. The bloc's top diplomat said the European Union's ambassador to Sudan was attacked in his home in the city yesterday. A spokesperson told media the security of diplomatic premises and staff is a primary responsibility of Sudanese authorities and an obligation under international law. Battles have taken place throughout the vast country and there are fears of regional spillover. Terrified residents of the capital are spending the last and holiest days of Ramadan watching from their windows as tanks roll through the streets, buildings shake and smoke from fires triggered by the fightings hang in the air. The conflict has seen airstrikes, artillery and heavy gunfire.
In light of the situation in Sudan, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on leaders of the Sudanese armed forces and the rival rapid support forces to respect international law amid the escalation of conflict between them and begin a dialogue to resolve the crisis in the country. He made the appeal before delivering his opening speech at a UN forum on financing for development. The UN Secretary General strongly condemned the outbreak of fighting in Sudan, noting that the situation has already led to horrendous loss of life, including many civilians. Sudan has been witnessing armed clashes between the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces since the 15th of April.
Begin a dialogue to resolve the crisis. The situation has already led to horrendous loss of life, including many civilians. Any further escalation could be devastating for the country and the region. I urge all those with influence over the situation to use it in the cause of peace, to support efforts to end the violence, restore order and return to the path of transition. The humanitarian situation in Sudan was already precarious and is now catastrophic. I condemn the deaths and injuries to civilians and humanitarian workers and the targeting and looting of premises. I remind all parties of the need to respect international law, including ensuring the safety and security of all United Nations and associated personnel and humanitarian aid workers. I have spoken during the weekend with the two Sudanese leaders, and I am actively engaging with the AU, the Arab League and leaders across the region. And I reaffirm that the United Nations stands with the people of Sudan at this very difficult time, with full support for their efforts to restore the democratic transition and build a peaceful, secure future.
Melbourne has overtaken Sydney as Australia's most populous city for the first time since the 19th century gold rush, following a boundary change. Sydney has proudly held the title for more than 100 years.
But with the populations rapidly growing on Melbourne's fringe, the city limits have been expanded to include the area of Melton. The latest government figures from June 2021 put Melbourne's population at 4,875,400, 18,700 more than Sydney. The Australian Bureau of Statistics defines a city's significant urban area by including all connecting suburbs with more than 10,000 people.
Around 70 Jeju horses that were designated as a natural monument have been released on the Halasan mountain range for spring. They will live on the grassland until late October. A dozen horses indigenous to Jeju Island, smaller than an average adult male, are released to the paddock in the warm spring sunlight, and they roll around in the grass to take a dust bath. Sick of the hay provided throughout the winter season, the animals now have the time to enjoy the fresh grass. Tourists naturally gravitate towards the picturesque scene. With smiles on their faces, they take pictures to take the beautiful memories home.
China's National Botanical Garden has made significant progress A year after its establishment in Beijing, the park has collected over 17,000 plants of all kinds, including nearly 1,000 types of endangered plants, making it a demonstration zone for plant diversity protection in the country. Today marks the first anniversary of the establishment of China's first national botanical garden. With a planned area of close to 600 hectares, the facility is part of China's efforts to strengthen conservation of plant species as well as to build a world-class botanical garden. In the past year, the garden has cultivated a new variety of begonia, shuju or snow pillar, named for its appearance as it looks like a tall tree with strings of snowflakes hanging on the branches.
Prima Kottumi, hot and spicy Nava Vasarak Veva.
And in sports news, Sri Lanka secured its biggest test match victory today after defeating Ireland by an innings and 280 runs.
The first test match between Sri Lanka and Ireland was played at Golf International Cricket Stadium. At the beginning of the third day today, Ireland had scored 117 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their first innings. However, Ireland only managed to add another 26 runs for their innings as their first innings was limited to a score of 143 runs. Prabhat Jayasuriya picked up 7 wickets. Sri Lanka scored 591 runs for the loss of 6 wickets for their first innings. Ireland began their second innings with a follow-off on of 448 runs. Accordingly, Ireland lost their first 5 wickets for a mere total of 40 runs. Ireland only managed to gather 168 runs for their second innings. Ramesh Mendis picked up 4 wickets while Prabhat Jayasuriya picked up 3. Prabhat Jayasuriya was named man of the match, and the second test match will begin on the 24th at the Galle International Cricket Stadium.
In other sports stories, Chennai Super Kings managed to secure a win against Royal Challengers Bangalore in an Indian Premier League match played yesterday.
The match was played at Bangalore. Winning the toss, Bangalore invited Chennai to bat first. Accordingly, Chennai scored 226 runs for the loss of 6 wickets in their 20 overs. Devon Conway scored 83 while Shivam Dubey scored 52 runs.
A lot of pace on that one. What a great bold couple of short balls, and Ajay Girani played.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news bulletin. Do join us tomorrow at the very same time for more of the very latest. Until then.